Remember when Tim lit up the entire neighborhood? Let's go back.
Tamagotchi, the Y2K.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This year I wanted to talk about a show I haven't had a chance to discuss on this channel, which is surprising as it was one of the most popular shows of the 90s, Home Improvement. And what better time of the year to discuss it than at Christmas time? Just like TGIF, Home Improvement was part of my family's weekly viewing routine. And the one thing I associate most with Home Improvement is their Halloween and Christmas episodes. Plus, what actor is more synonymous with Christmas than Tim Allen?
You must sing! If you don't, they'll make you do a Christmas movie with Tim Allen!
Thanks to his role as Santa in The Santa Claus, its sequels, and later on Christmas with the Cranks, Tim has gotten the reputation as the Christmas guy. Plus, his love of snow is well documented. For those who weren't around or old enough in the 90s, Tim Allen was one of the biggest stars of the decade. To put his popularity into perspective, he achieved something that may never happen again. For a 4-week period in 1994, Tim Allen had the #1 movie at the box office with The Santa Claus, the #1 New York Times bestselling book with Don't Stand Too Close to a Naked Man, and the #1 rated show on television with Home Improvement. There's a lot to joke about when it comes to Tim Allen. I mean, it's easy to do, I just did it. But the truth of the matter is, he's a comedy icon no matter what you think of the man. Plus, I will defend Galaxy Quest as one of the most underrated movies of all time until the day I die. Enough about Mr. Christmas, let's get back to the topic on hand. Despite a good chunk of this channel's time going to discussing ABC's TGIF, it was ABC's Tuesday nights and later Thursday nights where their powerhouse show resided. Home Improvement throughout its run was in the top 10 highest rated shows on television every year it aired. The only other sitcom with a better overall ratings in that decade was Seinfeld. The show centered around the Taylor family. Now I know what you're gonna say, we know what Home Improvement is about, but bear with me for a moment because not everyone watching this video has seen the show, so hold your comments. There was Tim the Toolman Taylor who hosted a cable handyman show called Tool Time, which is what some people mistakenly remember the actual sitcom being called. He was known as a screw-up who always destroyed things, got injured, and grunted a lot. The rest of the cast consisted of his wife Jill and 3 boys Brad, Mark, and the face that was plastered on many young girls' walls back then, Randy, played by JTT. There was also Al, who was Tim's lovable co-host / sidekick on Tool Time, Heidi, the Tool Time girl, and Wilson, the Taylor's wise neighbor who never showed his full face throughout the series. Back then, the mystery of what Wilson looked like remained just that, a mystery, because we couldn't just look it up on the internet like we can today. I remember on a Home Improvement finale special, they revealed the actor's face, and I just sat there thinking, that's it? He looks like a normal guy. Now that I've gotten a bit into what Home Improvement was, let's get into the Christmas episodes. With 8 seasons of the show, I watched all 8 Christmas episodes and decided to rank them based on my own personal opinion. Don't come at me, we're just having fun here. Starting out with my lowest ranked episode, Bright Christmas from Season 7. After watching all these episodes back to back, you'll start to notice they hit on some of the same beats in certain ways. For example, this one starts with Tim preparing the house for the Christmas decorating contest where his biggest rival is a proctologist neighbor we never see called Doc Johnson. This Christmas decorating rivalry will be featured in many of these episodes. Bright Christmas centers around Jill's mother visiting for their first Christmas together after her father died. Now this isn't the reason I ranked it last, I'll get to that at the end, but this was a hard episode to watch having just lost my mother last month. After Jill's mother arrives, she asks if she can invite a friend over for Christmas named Parker, an older gentleman she's been dating. Despite having issues with this, Jill agrees and Parker comes over to help Tim with the Christmas decorations. It isn't until after Jill has a talk with Wilson that she decides to confront her mother with her feelings. Talking about how she feels her mom seems happier with Parker than she was with her father and it feels like she's replacing him. Jill and her mother have a heart-to-heart and talk about how no one could replace her father and everyone's happy. Christmas is saved. It ends with Tim lighting up the house as the family watches on, which again will be a reoccurring ending for these episodes. The episode was fine. The reason I ranked it last is because it wasn't as Christmassy and a bit heavier than the other episodes on this list. Some of these episodes sparked the Christmas spirit in me and this one just didn't do it. I'm sure it comes as no surprise that the later season episodes ranked the lowest as the writers were probably running out of steam, but despite that I did enjoy this episode. This is the final season of the show and the season that Jonathan Taylor Thomas left Home Improvement to focus on his education. Within the show, his character Randy also left for education to Costa Rica. Home for the Holidays, not to be mistaken with JTT's Christmas movie I'll Be Home for Christmas, is an episode about Randy returning home for Christmas, but everyone's caught up with their own lives. He feels like he isn't part of the family. It also features the neighborhood Christmas decoration contest, but this year Al will be competing after moving into the neighborhood, and he has an ace up his sleeve, his super rich girlfriend Trudy. Later in the episode, Randy's gift to the family is that he planted a tree in Costa Rica in all their names, but Tim and the family seem more interested in the house decorations. There's also a small side plot involving Tim's brother Marty getting sassed by his mother about not having the whole family together for his twin daughters, as he's currently going through a separation with his wife. Once again, thanks to Wilson's advice, Randy finds a way to spend time with his parents on the roof as they reflect on life and how things have changed, but remind him that this will always be his home. This Christmas episode ends with the family looking up at Al's winning home decorations as Tim admits defeat, only for it to be revealed that the animatronics on the house are actually just Al and Trudy dressed up. This episode was also fine. It was nice to see nearly the entire family together for the final Christmas episode. Seeing JTT return felt like a television moment of the 90s, and the story was overall decent that I'm sure many people can relate to. This is the highest rated Home Improvement Christmas episode according to IMDb with an 8.1, but it wasn't for me. More about that at the end. Season 5's Twas the Flight Before Christmas is about Tim and Al taking a flight for a work trip, but they'll be back in time for Christmas. Or so they hope so. It also features Al and his girlfriend Eileen arguing over Al's mother getting in between their relationship, with Eileen giving him the ultimatum to choose between her or his mother for New Year's Eve. This sparks Al to complain to Tim the majority of their trip until they get stranded in a small airport because of the weather with this sarcastic airport employee.
Try me again when you're donating a kidney.
The weather lightens up and they're able to head home in time for Christmas, but when they're about to land in Michigan, they need to be rerouted because of the weather. Luckily for them, just as they're about to be rerouted, the boys light up the Christmas house decorations, which is bright enough to help land the plane. Al chooses Eileen and the boys beat Doc Johnson in the Christmas decorating contest without their dad. Again, I like this one, but there was other episodes I just enjoyed more. The reason I ranked it so low is because we've seen the stuck somewhere and not being able to make it home in time for Christmas plot in so many sitcoms and films. In fact, 2 of the TGIF Christmas episodes I've covered on here have done it as well, with Family Matters being stuck on the subway and Hanging with Mr. Cooper being stuck at a motel. I'm sure you can come up with some more examples of this trope in the comments below. Season 6's No Place Like Home is quite good, but it does lack the Christmas element. However, it does feature the importance of family, and isn't that what Christmas is all about? That and trampling on a grandma just to get a Tickle Me Elmo at the mall. This is also the only episode on this list that doesn't feature Tim competing in the Christmas house decorating contest. No Place Like Home is about Tim and the family helping his mother move out of their childhood home, which Tim and his 2 brothers struggle to deal with. Things get worse when the new owners show up and talk about all the renovations they're going to be doing, including removing the wooden banister for a cast iron one. The same wooden banister Tim helped his father build when he was a kid. Tim tries convincing Jill to buy the house, but she reminds him that it isn't about the house, but the memories of his father that he carries with him. While swapping stories with his mom, Tim has an idea on how to say goodbye to the house. The episode ends with the whole family sitting on the dining room floor, eating takeout as they sit by the fireplace sharing one final Christmas meal in their childhood home. This was a sweet episode. Like I said, I would have ranked it higher if this list was just based on the episodes and not specifically Christmas-themed episodes. Season 4's Twas the Night Before Chaos opens with Tool Time, and this guy carving a Christmas tree out of ice in under 30 seconds. This year, the Taylor house is full for Christmas as Tim's brother Marty, his wife, and 2 daughters are already there when Jill's parents arrive. They begin bickering the entire time to the point that Jill asks her mother about it. She explains that Jill's dad, now that he's retired, is just sitting in his room all the time watching old war movies. Jill tries confronting her dad about possible depression, but he isn't having it, and now her mom is upset that she would bring up something she said to her privately. Tim sees Jill's dad sitting watching the same war film he has 100 times and asks him if he wants to help set up the Christmas decorations with him. He's reluctant at first, but as a former Army colonel, when he finds out they were competing against Doc Johnson, a former member of the Navy, he jumps at the chance to kick his ass. Tim has a talk with Jill's dad about depression, and just because he's no longer a colonel doesn't mean his life doesn't have purpose. This sparks him to talk to his wife and mentions traveling more, and the 2 make up. It ends with the whole family watching the house light up. This one had a lot of Christmas packed into it and reminded me of the big family Christmases we used to have when I was young. It was also surprising to see a show in 1994 talking about mental health and depression in a positive and respectful way. especially on a show that's all about machismo. Next up is Season 2's I'm Scheming of a White Christmas, in which, you guessed it, Tim is competing with Doc Johnson in the house decorating contest. He reveals that the lights on the house are so bright that you need to wear special protective sunglasses in order to view them, much to the neighbors' dismay. We also get a small bit of Tim dressed as an elf and Al dressed as Santa for a Christmas promo for Tool Time while riding on a snowmobile. Mr. Binford's daughter and now producer of Tool Time reveals that she booked Manhattan Transfer to sing on the show. While that is happening, Al gets stuck in the chimney and gets chainsawed out by Tim. However, the main plot centers around Randy and Brad, who are collecting money around town for the local Christmas drive. Well, they get the idea to keep some of the money for themselves for all their hard work and business expenses. This leads to them buying all kinds of Christmas gifts for themselves and their family. Tim and Jill discover all the gifts and realize the two boys are stealing from the charity after Wilson says he gave them $10, despite Randy and Brad claiming they only raised $5 all day. They confront the boys and force them to return everything and give the money back to the charity. The episode ends with Brad and Randy seeing the error in their ways after visiting the charity and seeing the kids they were stealing from. They decide to take all the toys they don't use anymore and take it downtown to donate to the kids. Classic sitcom lesson learned. Remember when Brad played one of those unfortunate kids on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Now that was a short joke.
For me, this is the Home Improvement episode I remember the most for some reason, but after watching all the Christmas episodes, it landed at number 2 on my list. Season 3's Twas the Blight Before Christmas has Brad arriving home and telling his parents he has been invited to a ski trip with his friend's family. The only catch is it'll be on Christmas Day. Jill tells him Christmas time is meant to be spent with family and tells him he can't go, and Brad takes the news like a mature and responsible person.
So much for a Merry Christmas.
Just kidding. I'm not going to get too deep into the B plot because it is of course Tim trying to beat Doc Johnson in the Christmas decorating contest. It goes about as well for Tim as it does every year. Brad rebels by refusing to accompany the family to the church on Christmas Eve for the choir performance Mark is in. At the church, Al arrives and asks where Brad is and sees how upset Jill is. This sparks Tim to go home where he finds Brad trying to sneak out for the ski trip. Tim has a chat with him at the table about how important this is to his mother and that one day they won't all be under the same roof for Christmas because everyone grows up, they'll be off to college and having their own families. Back at the church, as the choir begins to sing, Tim and Brad arrive and the family is all together for Christmas Eve. It ends with everyone outside the house to watch it light up, but Tim spots an issue with the reindeer and gets electrocuted. Like I said, this is an episode that has stuck with me over the years. I always remember Brad arriving at church and Mark and the other choir boys accidentally spelling Leon instead of Noel. But now it's time for my number 1 Home Improvement Christmas episode, and if you've been keeping score at home, you already know which one it is. That's right, the best Christmas episode in my opinion is Home Improvement's first one called You'll Better Watch Out. This episode centers around Mark and him questioning whether or not Santa is real after his brothers tell him he doesn't exist, and then followed by telling him he did exist but he died 6 years ago. Maybe he fell off a roof or something. While this is going on, Brad and Randy are preparing for the school play in which Jill gets him a costume that looks like Johnny Carson's Karnak bit. And Tim competes with Doc Johnson for Christmas house decoration supremacy, which he not only blows a fuse, but firefighters are called after he falls on the roof and gets his tongue stuck to a hammer. Later on, Tim confides in Wilson about Mark questioning Santa on whether or not he should tell him the truth or not. Just as Jill and Tim are about to tell Mark the truth, Wilson, dressed up as Santa Claus, shows up at the front door with a gift for him. However, as soon as he leaves, Jill spots Wilson still back behind his fence. It was a cute ending, but I couldn't help but think about this situation in reality. If that happened to you, you'd be on the phone with the police reporting a strange man dressed as Santa entering your home. The police would probably question why you let him in the first place. This episode was the epitome of not only a classic Christmas sitcom episode, but it hits all the good beats of a Home Improvement episode. You got Tool Time, Tim needing emergency services after messing up, Wilson's advice, Randy and Brad picking on Mark, and a little bit of Christmas magic to end it all with a chef's kiss. Now, is this my favorite television Christmas episode of all time? No. But is my favorite Home Improvement Christmas episode of all time, and that's all that matters. What do you think is the best Home Improvement Christmas episode? And tell me your favorite Christmas TV episode in general. I'm fond of Friends' Christmas Armadillo or Community's Christmas Glee episode. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. And to everyone who has stuck around, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a much better New Year. Bye everyone.